Overturning the Reformation. The most significant event in nearly 500 years of church history was revealed as a fait accompli on March 29, 1994. On that day, leading American evangelicals and Catholics signed a joint declaration titled Evangelicals and Catholics Together, the Christian Mission in the Third Millennium. The document, in effect, overturned the Reformation and will unquestionably have far-reaching repercussions throughout the Christian world for years to come. This startling development was the culmination of careful planning and negotiations over the previous 2 years. Each step was continuously monitored and approved by the Vatican. The New York Times release making the announcement, which was carried in newspapers across the country on March 30th, said in part, "They toiled together in the movements against abortion and pornography, and now leading Catholics and evangelicals are asking their flocks for a remarkable leap of faith, to finally accept each other as Christians. In what's being called a historic declaration, evangelicals, including Pat Robertson and Charles Colson, one of the chief originators, joined with conservative Roman Catholic leaders today in upholding the ties of faith that bind the nation's largest and most politically active religious groups. They urged Catholics and evangelicals to stop aggressive proselytization of each other's flocks." John White, president of Geneva College and former president of the National Association of Evangelicals, said the statement represents a triumphalistic moment in American religious life after centuries of distrust. Other evangelical endorsers include the heads of the Home Mission Board and Christian Life Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention, who acted in an independent capacity, the nation's largest Protestant denomination, and Bill Bright, founder of Campus Crusade for Christ, Mark Knoll of Wheaton University, Os Guinness, Jesse Miranda, Assemblies of God, Richard Mao, President, Fuller Theological Seminary, J.I. Packer, and Herbert Schlossberg. Robert Simmons, Southern California chairman of the National Association of Evangelicals, applauded the declaration and said he hoped it would bring increased cooperation between evangelicals and Catholics. Other evangelical leaders have since signed the declaration, while still others have denounced it as a betrayal of the Reformation. Ironically, this bold move to unite Catholics and evangelicals will divide evangelicals as nothing else could, and as its endorsers must have realized. The 25-page document acknowledges, without compromise, some key differences between Catholics and evangelicals, such as the significance of baptism and the authority of Scripture. Unfortunately, the most important difference, what it means to be a Christian, is not mentioned. In fact, that such a difference even exists is denied. This compromise of the gospel lies at the heart of the agreement. The key element behind this historic joint declaration is the previously unthinkable admission on the part of leading evangelicals that active participation in the Catholic Church makes one a Christian. If that is indeed the case, then the Reformation was a tragic mistake. The millions who were martyred during 1,000 years before the Reformation and since then to the present time for rejecting Catholicism as a false gospel have all died in vain. If, however, the Reformers were right, then this new agreement between Catholics and evangelicals could well be the cleverest and deadliest blow struck against the gospel in the entire history of the Church. Either way, the consequences are staggering. In praising the joint declaration, one leading evangelical declared, "This document has the potential to recast all the ecumenical discussions that have gone on through the years. This is a new day. Our closest friends as evangelicals in the cultural task and in the fundamental theological task are Roman Catholics." The theological differences between Catholics and Protestants were once considered to be so great that millions died as martyrs rather than compromise them, and their Catholic executioners were equally convinced of the importance of such differences. How have these differences been dissolved? What has happened to cause leading evangelicals to declare that Catholicism's gospel, which the Reformers denounced as heretical, is now biblical? That gospel hasn't changed. Has conviction been compromised to create a huge coalition among conservatives for social and political action? Evangelicals would decry the complacent attitude that everyone actively involved in a Protestant church is a Christian. How then did evangelical leaders consent to the view that all active Catholics are Christians and not to be evangelized? The document explains that both Catholics and evangelicals endorse the Apostles' Creed, that Christ suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. That creed, however, like the Nicene and other creeds, does not express the gospel